just to kind of begin with the term hacking, it's kind of a broad term that means different things to different people. And in talking with Teri a little bit about this class, we decided that we would present it with the goal of really the user's experience of what hacking is. And we think that's like, well, all of a sudden your computer is wonky, it's not working right, you didn't do anything to cause that, there's some kind of external cause. And so that's like, maybe it can be caused by a little program like a virus infection or malware infection, and that kind of seems like it's hacking to an end user. Network professionals that manage internet assets have like a larger, a kind of different view of hacking, in the sense that we actively have people that are trying to log into our servers without authorization in order to execute some kind of code to install some software on these servers and take control of them for fun and profit. So with that in mind, just like there are kind of three kind of definitions of what being hacked is. First thing I'd like to talk about are just viruses and malware. These are programs written by people that have been released into the internet, and they're in the wild, as it were, and these are the most common things that affect your computer and cause it to operate poorly. The main way these are spread used to be emails and attachments to emails. That has, by and large, been blocked by antivirus software, or we use this internet appliance that scans every email coming in for malicious attachments. So attachments really aren't where it's at anymore, I think. Now infections are coming from email phishing attempts. You might have kind of been familiar with those. Just, I have a slide to go to in a second, but that is not good. When you get an email that looks like it's from a vendor or from a bank or from a shipping company, and it kind of looks legitimate to you, and it has links for you to click on. Okay. And then when you click on that link, then something dangerous could happen. Software, you would be taken to like a website that is running, that has like a little program or an applet that then infects your computer. And that's a little harder for antivirus programs to stop. So phishing is really now a big vector for getting these infections. Bad websites. I don't know if any of you know about JavaScript or Java, which is a web-based framework to allow you to run programs through web pages. And so now a lot of malware and virus infections are just coming when you visit this web page that's been infected. The web page on a server somewhere else has been hacked. The piece of code or a link to that code has been installed on the page. And when you visit that page unsuspecting to yourself, this software is just installed without you knowing it, and then all of a sudden you have a wonky computer. So that's another avenue that things are coming in. And I think a third avenue would be software downloads. If you go to download some software that's like a fancy toolbar, or some package from another company, sometimes instead of the particular application that you want, say like the Adobe PDF viewer or a particular game, Other pieces of software are included. And then all of a sudden, when you download and install what you thought was a game, you've picked something else up. And so that's kind of covers, how the main kind of modes of infection, I would say recently, versus the old school style, which is just attachments and communities. Viruses and malware generally are not super system affecting and detrimental in the sense that they won't stop you from using your computer. Maybe they will block you from visiting certain websites. Maybe it will cause your Internet Explorer to crash and you simply have to run a different web browser like Chrome or Internet Explorer. Maybe they disable your Windows from updating and getting security updates. But more often than not, they're more of a kind of a nuisance than a major threat or a hack. And what they're used for primarily is to use your computer to send spam. I think that is kind of the economic driver here for the person that's putting this code out there. If they can turn more computers into devices that send out spam for them, then they track that and they do it. So that's like one category. A more severe version of a virus or malware are called rootkits or Trojan viruses. They use the same vectors of infection, like a web page that has like bad JavaScript, or a phishing email where you click on a link and then all of a sudden you're putting in information to a page that you shouldn't be. Rootkits are real problems because they are giving somebody backdoor access to your computer in the sense that once you're infected with this kit, an external actor out on the internet can log into your system, control it, watch you do what you're doing, and so that's a more kind of dangerous infection, and it's generally at the system level. So sometimes it's just getting in the way of your operating system files themselves and insinuating itself like deep in your Windows directory and using some of the same names as Windows files. So it can be rather more difficult to detect and remove, and maybe you need to take other steps. And Trojans, some of them are getting to the point where they're just blocking you from your computer, making you pay money to remove them. And the FBI ransomware virus is one of those. And my last note there about Trojans, makes your computer a zombie host. I don't know if you've heard that term, but if someone out there on the internet has a rootkit installed on your computer is now part of their vast army of computers around the world, 40,000 to 50,000 strong, that unsuspecting to you, you're just working with it, and then all of a sudden everything gets really slow on the internet, or everything gets really slow when you move around your application. Maybe that person has activated your zombie computer to do something like send a bunch of spam, attack a website using like ping or other commands that are part of your operating system to kind of flood a website with a lot of requests. So all hack activities from a user's perspective. Viruses and malware, not so severe. They kind of interfere with your ability to use your computer. Some things don't work. Rootkits and Trojans, more severe, somebody has actual access to your computer, I think that would definitely be considered hacking. Trojans like the FBI money pack virus just put like this big screen like on top of your desktop telling you that you downloaded things legally and you have to pay $300. And you just can't do anything on your computer. So from the user point of view, those are hacks. From my point of view as a network operator, I've got network penetration attacks and snooping. And what do I do about that, or how do I do about it? Well, I have 3 kind of tools available to me to see if someone's hacking on my computers. I can look in my logs. Every service that I run on a server, whether it's a web server or a mail server or whatever, it logs every single transaction that occurs. And so if my system's starting to run a little slow and I'm suspecting something's going on, I'll look at my logs. And I'll see, endless, literally thousands of log entries, all coming from like the same IP address of somebody trying to log into my system. And what they do is they just use random combinations of usernames and passwords and brute force, in the sense that they just keep trying, hoping they'll get a hit. So logs are a way that I kind of find out about that. Also, I have graphs. Everything in my network is graphed, all like the bandwidth. I can see like the number of connections to a particular server. I can see like the number of emails in my queues and things like that. And it's really easy, normally your graph would just be kind of like steady, little ups and downs depending on what time of day it is. And if you see a big spike, something's going on. And that's another clue that I have to go in and generally stop kind of attack. And the third thing is a notification system that's proactive. The system I use is called Nagios. And it runs on one of my computers, and it checks all the other servers and computers and makes sure that they're okay. It gathers information from them, like, what's your processor rate? Or, how many connections do you have at any particular time? And we can set the monitoring software to alert us if it goes over a certain threshold level. So that's my third tool to really kind of find out what's going on.
What is the name?
No, Nagios, Nagios. It's free, it's great. So yeah, hacking to me is, not necessarily getting a virus or malware infection. It's actively stopping people from trying to get access to our server that shouldn't have access to. And I think that's really kind of a truer definition. Steve, can you get my slide? So just to go in a little bit more specifics, this is like an example of a phishing email that I just copied today. I'm sure you've all seen these before. It's like, wait a minute, I'm getting money that I didn't think I had, right? But the tricky thing about these emails is they can be formatted in such a way that they are very convincing fakes. The from address, just because it says Internal Revenue Service and it has irs.gov does not mean it's from the IRS. Anybody can spoof a return address header like that to kind of make it look like that. So, that's one place to check, but it's often the correct or correct sounding address, and you really can't go on that. You can read the text closely. Often these phishing emails have some kind of grammatical weirdness or grammatic errors to them that give you kind of a little tip off there. But my favorite thing to check is these URLs or these web addresses and the headers in the email, which we don't see here. But these URLs, they can put like irs.gov and / and all these things for IRS. So it looks, when you read it, like it's from the IRS, but if you mouse over, your mouse cursor over that link, the actual address it's going to will pop up. And it often can be totally different. And that's how you can tell, okay, wait a minute, you know, there's something that doesn't jive right here, so don't click on it. And I would say, you know, definitely, if you're at the least bit suspicious, don't click on it, ask somebody else or to a friend, you know, ask somebody like us to know. And the headers this is like a small limited view of the headers, from, to, CC, and subject. There's actually a large block of text, which you can access by, in your email program, going to like a view pull-down menu and viewing all the headers. And headers will show you like where the email actually came from, and a lot of times phishing emails come from overseas, and you can see all the different servers that it bounces through, so that's, you know, kind of another place that I check. So that's a little bit, just a kind of brief notes about phishing emails, and I think, what's that?
How do you check the headers?
You, in the email program, you click on the view pull-down menu, and you'll see headers, and you show all headers. And there's some IP addresses that you have to read through, and server names that you have to read through, but once you get used to it a little bit, it becomes a little easier to read through. And I think I have one more slide. And yeah, this is just an example of a Trojan, the FBI money pack virus, which is just my favorite one recently, just because it's so blatant. They show you, you know, it's got the 7-Eleven logo. It's like you can go to 7-Eleven and get this money card and put the money card number in there and wire this money to me, and I will, you know, let your computers be free. And so I just kind of wanted to leave this for Jamie because I know it's probably one of his favorite viruses to remove and work with. And so I think I'm about done with my little section. So would you like to?
Sure.